Hello everyone, back to you in today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, it's going to take us to around the 13th of December. So we're heading into the middle part of the month with this update. A lot of uncertainty in the model output at the moment for as early as around a week's time. So talking about next week, second week of December and going up to the middle of the month, will we get colder weather? That's a big question that's going on with model output at the moment. I'll talk you through all of the latest developments in a moment. There are some very interesting models to say the least. We've released a December month-ahead forecast, and that is going for a rather milder than average December, but the CFS V2 and Beijing Climate Centre long-range models are really going to town on the chance of very mild month, exceptionally mild month being forecast by the CFS V2 in particular. We've scaled that back. Our forecast is suggesting just a little bit above average. We think there will be a cold snap at some point through December, probably around the middle of the month. That's what we're looking for to tell us at the winter forecast, which we released yesterday, going for a slightly colder than average winter, to tell us that winter forecast is on track. So we need to see at some point a colder than average, a cold interlude, if you like, either from the north or preferably even from the east. We think it's most likely around the middle of the month. There may be another little colder interlude perhaps towards the end of the month as well. Anyway, check out month-ahead forecast, see what you think to that. Tonight we're going to have a blog update looking at the UK Met Office Contingency Planners Guidance. That's been updated today and it's an interesting read. I'll bring you up to date with that on the blog tonight. Starting off the video though, I'm going to say a big thank you to our latest patron and donor. So we've up to 45 patrons now. We've had a new patron. So Adam Penn has become Gasworthy's 45th patron. So a big thank you to Adam Penn for becoming our latest patron. If you would like to join Adam and all of the other patrons and become a patron for Gasworthy's, then all you have to do is come to the Gasworthy's Patreon page. This is it, I'm on that page right now, and you sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can pledge an ongoing monthly donation. Can be anything as much as $1 a month upwards, and by doing that you will become a patron for Gasworthy's. A big thank you to all of the patrons. Gasworthy's trying to get to 50 patrons by Christmas. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it, but big thank you to all of the patrons for Gasworthy's. Also, you can give a one-off donation to Gasworthy's via the Gasworthy's PayPal page. We've had a new donation. That person would like to stay anonymous, so I'll just say big thank you to our anonymous donor. You know who you are. I'm sure you're watching. So big thank you to you for becoming a donor for Gasworthy's. If you would like to give a one-off donation to Gasworthy's via PayPal, again, all you have to do is come to the Gasworthy's PayPal page, sign into your PayPal account. Most people have one of those these days, and you can give us a one-off donation. And again, you're helping us to pay for the website. You're helping us to keep the content totally available to all of the viewers that want them and need them. So a big thank you to all of the patrons. Big thank you to all of the donors for doing that and supporting Gasworthy's. It really does mean a great deal indeed. Thanks so much for doing that. And a special thank you to our anonymous donor and also to Adam Penn for becoming our latest patron. Right, so let's get on with today's video. Just going to start with this. We started with this in the week ahead forecast, in the month ahead forecast, I should say, as well. This is the Central England temperature from Hadley. It's updated for November. We came out, in case you didn't hear the news, came out at 8.3, an anomaly of 1.8 degrees above average, bringing us out at a slightly milder than average autumn, because September and October were both more or less bang on their long-term 30-year averages. So the fact that November was quite significantly milder than average means that the autumn itself came out a little bit above average. We will be verifying the Gasworthy's autumn forecast at some point in the next few days. It's a very busy time at the moment, as always, at this time of the year, doing winter updates and counting down to the end of the year. So it's always a really busy time right now. But at some point in the next day or so, we'll bring you the autumn verification video. By the way, December, provisional up to the 2nd, is currently standing at 9.6, an incredible anomaly of 4.6 degrees above average, so nearly 5 degrees. We're getting on for 5 degrees above average for December. Mind you, it's only 2 days in. I think that will reduce quite a bit in around a week or so's time. More on that in a moment. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which I'll look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8 feet, is an area in the actual high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue extrapolating to low pressure. So in the 7 to 10 day time frame, which is going to take us up to around the 13th of December, we find with the ECMWF, we've got this blocking area of high pressure sitting to our north and to our northeast. And then we've got a trough of low pressure below average heights, generally to the south of that blocking. And so the jet stream coming across the Atlantic, doing something like that, going on to a southerly tracking jet stream, places us onto the cold side of the jet, therefore. And we will be starting to pull down quite cold air from an east or northeasterly direction. So the ECM wants to turn us quite a lot colder as we head up towards the middle part of the month, to say the least. Now, this is how the GFS is looking, nowhere near as strong with that Scandinavian high, although it is spared to some degree. There is a blocking area of high pressure a little bit further north where the ECM has it, not as strong, but there it is to the north of Scandinavia. We've got this cut-off trough across central parts of Europe. We do also have the ridge building in from the Atlantic, from the Azores, with low pressure to the south of Greenland. So that's a really messy picture. That's trying to bring westerlies in from off the Atlantic like that, but it's also trying to bring down cold air from the north and move cold air in from the east. So that could go either way, really. You could well find that this area of high pressure but blocking strengthens up here. If it did, then you would start to move in much colder easy winds. But conversely, with the high pressure just ridging into the west of Spain, just there in Portugal, and the low pressure to south of Greenland, you could find that the Atlantic starts to steamroller in once again. So that's one of those charts that's a bit in between really for the UK. Could go either way. It does look a lot colder though with this trough through central and eastern parts of Europe. Winter will really be biting there, taking those northerly winds down into even southern and southeastern parts of Europe probably. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. Looking at London today, so going to go a little bit cooler than average in the next 24 hours, then going very mild through the rest of this week. Temperatures really lifting back up through towards the weekend. We'll be back up to around 14 or maybe even 15 degrees. Over the weekend into next week, we start to see a cooling trend, so it goes a bit cooler over the weekend, but it's really next week that we're seeing those temperature ensembles dipping away quite significantly. That is quite a big dip now that's appearing within the ECM ensembles, telling us that most ensemble members want to turn things quite a lot colder as we go through next week. We have got many ensemble members going down to between 5 and 10 Celsius at 850 HPA, which is bringing in genuinely cold air, most of them probably bringing it in from an easterly direction. In the more extended range, that's the 15th of December just there, so this is going into the second half of the month. Looks like there's a gradual warming trend going a little bit milder through into the second half of the month. Although, having said that, there is a lot of scatter within there, so several ensemble members are still keeping things quite cold. I haven't better really look beyond this period just here, which is when the ECM ensembles are indicating colder weather moving in during the course of next week. Precipitation-wise, plenty of rainfall to come over the next few days, so for the rest of this week and into the weekend, it's going to be unsettled. There'll be showers or longer spells of rain around. Then, as the temperature falls away through the course of next week, we find a bit of a drying trend appearing before maybe starting to go a bit more unsettled again as the temperatures start to lift up in the second half of the month. But again, I have to emphasise that is very much up the grabs, I think, that period beyond the 15th of December. Temperature anomalies are looking like this. For England and Wales, still coming out milder than average for the 3rd through to the 11th of December. Scotland looks close to average. Most parts of Europe still forecast to have substantially milder than average temperature anomalies. Precipitation-wise, we're forecast to be average to a little bit wetter than average, really, for most parts of the country from the 3rd to the 11th of December. So that's how the GFS is looking for Thursday, bringing in those mild west or southwesterly winds. So we're still going to keep this mild trend through to the weekend. Friday's turning wet and windy. We could have some gale force winds in the north and the west, and probably quite a lot of heavy rain as well. That low pressure moves across to the east of Scotland on Saturday, pulling down a really strong northwesterly wind that could be touching severe gale force across parts of northern Britain, northern England and Scotland. Could see gusts of wind going at 70 or 80 miles an hour. With that, and it will start to bring down cooler air as well. So the first dip in temperature takes place over the weekend as the wind swings into northwesterlies. Then we go through to Sunday, and another system is moving across England and Wales, and behind that we're starting to pull down the winds from the north, so the weekend turning increasingly cold. Then we into the start of next week, so this is Monday the 10th of December, we cut off that northerly wind, start to move it into central parts of Europe as this ridge of high pressure builds across the country. That's within cold air though, so that will be bringing quite hard overnight frost, maybe some freezing fog patches as well. And then it's really where we take that high pressure through the course of next week that will determine whether it's just a little cold snap or whether this could turn into a cold spell. So we're up to Tuesday next week. The high pressure still across the UK, still bringing frosty, maybe foggy conditions. Notice the high is trying to ridge up towards Scandinavia. And actually, if we go through to the middle of next week, this is Wednesday the 12th of December, it's a long way out, but we are taking that high pressure on this 6 o'clock run of the GFS up to Scandinavia, trying to turn the wind into the east. And in fact, the wind does back into the east at day 10, Thursday the 13th of December. We are backing the wind into southeast, is almost turning it into the east. We have got cold air sitting across Central Europe that would start to be pulled this way to the UK if the wind turned into the east. However, by the time we get through to Friday the 14th of December, so just 24 hours on, we're bringing another deep area of low pressure from the Atlantic. So we just miss out on bringing in proper easterly winds on this 6 o'clock GFS run, but it is a very, very, very close run thing, and a slight adjustment would see us pulling in some really quite cold air indeed from Central Europe around day 10. Then we go into this unsettled spell in the extended range of low pressure close to the country before we get to the 17th of December, a very long way out. We start to move that low pressure away to the south and the east, and we turn things colder again and have another go seemingly pulling the winds in from the east. So there is a really good attempt to get wind in from the east on the 6 o'clock operation run. It just doesn't quite make it, but the hints are still there. But even if that one doesn't come off, there could be a further attempt a little bit after mid-December. This is how the parallel 6 o'clock parallel run is looking. So again, we've got this stormy spell of weather coming up at the end of the week and into the weekend. Then that low pressure moves away to our east over the weekend. We build this ridge over the UK, turn the winds into the north, so cold and frosty over the weekend and into the start of next week. And then as we go through next week, again, we're trying to get that high pressure up to Scandinavia. There it is, 1030 millibars sitting between Norway and Iceland, trying to turn the wind into the east. Again, we've got these low pressures complicating things in the Atlantic, so it's having a really good go to turn the wind into the east. Doesn't quite come off as this area of low pressure remains close just to the south of Ireland, keeping us not mild, but not as cold as it would be if we had wind in from the east, and also quite unsettled. And then as we get through into the extended range, we do again start to rebuild this high pressure to the north of the UK and finally get wind into easterlies or northeasterlies. That's how we look at the very end of the parallel run of the GFS 6 o'clock run. And again, we have that high pressure over Scandinavia. Wind is in from the east. It looks pretty cold through the middle part of the month. This is how the GM is looking. So again, we've got this mild stormy setup at the end of the week, and then that takes us into the weekend where it turns a bit cold as this ridge of high pressure builds in across the country, bringing us at the very least some hard overnight frost. Tuesday the 11th of December is trying to get that high pressure up to Scandinavia, trying to turn the wind into the east. In fact, for England and Wales, we have just about managed to pull the winds into the east and the northeast. But it's not long before that high pressure starts to collapse down across the UK, and we finish up looking like that with high pressure centred over the country. Again, that would be bringing cold weather. It would be bringing frost and fog, but not those traditional easterly winds and snow showers that we would get if we built the high pressure in over Scandinavia properly. However, this does look like a colder middle part of December due to this high pressure bringing us quite a bit of frost. And then we've got the ECMWF, and we know this is going to be a little bit better in terms of east winds because we saw it on the height anomaly flow chart. So that's how the ECM looks at the end of the week. Again, very unsettled, could be gale force winds as we go from Friday through to Saturday. Then we bring more low pressure in on Sunday, and it's behind that one that we turn the wind into the north and start to get this build of pressure. So it turns colder through the weekend and start of next week with increasingly frosty nights. Now the high pressure then starts to move up to Scandinavia with the ECMWF run. That's how we're looking on Wednesday the 12th of December. We've got a proper Scandinavian high there. We're turning the wind into a genuine easterly, and that's how we look at day 10. And that's colder. That's bringing the wind. The wind is southeasterly, but the air is coming in from the east. That's bringing proper cold air from the east, and these low pressures are being blocked out to the south and the southwest. That could well be starting to bring snow showers into eastern parts of the country, and temperatures would be taking a real tumble as well. There's the upper air temperatures, and they're looking pretty cold. So out of the big three, the ECM is definitely the best for the Scandinavian high, but really all three models are going in the same direction, which is trying to build this high pressure up over Scandinavia at day 10, trying to get the wind into the east. This is how the ECM postage stamps are looking we're looking for day 10 just there. So the postage stamps at day 10 from the ECM Ensemble is looking like this. We've got 11, that's 21.6 Ensemble members that are doing this. So these are building up that Scandinavian high. They've got the high pressure sitting to the north and the northeast of the country. They're bringing the wind in from the east. That will be bringing snow showers to southern and eastern parts of the country. Otherwise, a lot of dry weather, and it would be cold as well. Then we've got a further 11, 21.6, which includes the control and operational runs of the ECM. So the operation is what we're just looking at. And it's like this with the above average heights to the north. So again, it's cold scenario, we've got northern blocking, but the difference is that these Ensemble members, including the ECMWF control and operational run, have the low pressure down to the south, and so not only are they cold, they're also more unsettled as well, probably threatening to bring rain or snow to southern parts of the country with those 11 Ensemble members, including the operational and control runs of the ECM. We've got another 11, again 21.6 Ensemble members have low pressure out in the Atlantic, a ridge to the south and east and northeast of the country. So these ones are a lot milder. They're bringing the winds up from a southerly to southwesterly direction, also more unsettled with rain in the north and the west. Then we've got another 10. So there's a real split within the ECM ensembles about what's happening by the time you get through to day 10, I have to say. We've got another 10 that are like that. So they've got low pressure out to the north and west of us. They've got high pressure down to the south and southeast of us. And these ones are very mild, bringing winds up from a southwesterly direction. And then finally, we've got 8, which is 15.7% of ECM ensemble members that have high pressure ridging across the country, but it does also extend back to the northeast, and so these ones are mainly dry but quite cold. The wind is coming in from a northeasterly to easterly direction. Too much high pressure probably for anything wintry, any snow, but they would be cold with frost and fog and that kind of thing. So I suppose if you was to put those 8 together with those 11 and these 11 just here, you will come out with a majority of ECM ensemble members that are going for some sort of cold weather at day 10. The extent and severity will of course be determined, and certainly any detail like snow would have to be determined, but the ECM ensembles at day 10, the majority of them are favouring some sort of cold outcome, with these 11 here, these 10 just here, much milder outcomes as a more minority sort of solution. And finally, I'll just leave you with CFS V2, 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into week periods. The first week period take us from the 3rd through to the 9th of December. Mild all the way, really, with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the northwest, the winds coming in from off the Atlantic like that. So generally a mild week to come. And this goes on into week 2, which is the 10th to the 16th. That's when the shorter range models are wanting to, or hinting at something colder. The CFS having none of it. It wants low pressure to still to be to the north, high pressure to the south, bringing in this flat westerly floats as flat as a pancake, and the winds are off the Atlantic, so there'd be no chance of anything cold with that one. And then we go through to week 3, which is the 20, actually that's week 4, so I'll just show you week 3. First of all, so this one is the 17th to the 23rd of December, and that one is unsettled with low pressure coast of the country. Winds are still coming in from off the Atlantic. And then week 4, you just had a look at it, so you know what it's going to show. This is Christmas Eve to New Year's Eve, the 30th of December. Still with low pressure out to the northwest, still bringing in those mild west or southwest winds. So the CFS is having no truck with anything cold whatsoever. Wants to keep us bathed in Atlantic winds from beginning to end through December. And it would be a December to remember, but it would be to remember on the mild side of things. Shades of December 2015 with that one. I think we ignore that at the moment because the shorter range models all are indicating at the very least we get a spell of colder, drier, frosty weather. So that looks very likely, I think, to happen towards the end of the weekend, and by this time next week we should be under high pressure, bringing cold, frosty conditions. The question will be, where does that high pressure go? Does it go north and go to Scandinavia and we get the wind into the east? Most of these shorter range models of Big 3 all want to take that high pressure to Scandinavia in some form, but don't really pull in proper easterly winds yet. But the hints are there, particularly with the ECMWF, that could happen. So do take high pressure to Scandinavia. If we do, obviously it will get cold if wind turns into the east. Conversely, will the high pressure just collapse and will just push the Atlantic back through very quickly? That would be the kind of solution that the CFS is going for in particular. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen. I think we can say, but after very mild conditions in the next few days, we're going to get things colder over the weekend to start next week with frost and fog, and then let's wait and see where that high pressure goes after that. Right, so that's your second video update done and dusted. Tonight we're going to have a blog update looking at the UK Met Office Contingency Planners Guidance. It's just updated today. It's a very interesting read. You'll find that on Gareth Lovely's blog for around 7 o'clock this evening. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.